This one's wife. Chipped nail polish. Why? Hello, I'm HG Tudor. This channel is all about narcissism and psychopathy. I provide you with unrivaled insight into our world so that you understand why we behave as we do. That enables many people to achieve freedom from the narcissistic entanglement that they have experienced, that I provide you with the answers that nobody else is able to the various questions that are swirling around in your head. I have helped millions of people gain understanding and freedom through my blog articles, my books, the content of my knowledge vault, and, of course, through my videos. Furthermore, thousands have availed themselves of the opportunity to speak to me, to receive bespoke solutions to what they're dealing with. But it's not just the personal circumstances that I have helped people gain understanding, but it's also in relation to the behaviour of famous and infamous people that I have allowed people to have insight and then realise, so that's why. Many times they've been left scratching their heads, wondering, why did this person behave as they did? Why did that celebrity do as they do? Why did she make that decision? Why did he do that in relation to that girl when he was supposedly happily married? By explaining it through the prism of the individual's narcissism, all becomes clear. That's why this one's wife is such a prominent example, which enables me to explain so much about narcissism, but also with regard to her. There are many people who have a continued interest in her behaviour, mainly because they want to see her eventually crash and burn. But also, they want to understand, why does she do these things? How can it be that she behaves this way? And a frequent question that has just recently come up is in relation to the appearance that she made at the Navy SEALs Training Centre, where she appeared with chipped nail polish. That automatically raised a question amongst many as to somebody who prizes her appearance to such a degree, why on earth would she turn out with chipped nail polish? Those who understand that she is a somatic narcissist went even further and posed the question, given that she's a somatic narcissist and therefore preoccupied with appearance, how on earth is it that she has then gone out with chipped nail polish? Well, in answering this question, it becomes something of an umbrella answer to address other aspects of her appearance of late. Namely, she isn't looking too good. She looks gaunt. Her skin looks poor. Her hair looks flat. And yet, she turns up at events behaving as if she is the most attractive woman in the world, despite appearances being to the contrary. This all leads to the question, why? Why is she looking like this? Why is she allowing herself to look like this? Well, I have explained in the video, Is the Evil Destroying Her?, the factors that I see that are having an impact upon the way that she looks. But this then presents the question, can't she see it? And therefore, why isn't she doing something about it? Given the fact that she is a somatic narcissist, which means that matters of appearance are hugely important to her, doesn't she look in the mirror and go, fuck, and therefore think that she needs to do something about the way that she looks? Focusing on the issue of her chipped nail polish, she's going to look down at her hands and see that her nail polish isn't as it should be, and yet she still attends an event, knowing that she's going to be in the public eye, knowing that she's going to be photographed, possibly filmed, and doesn't take corrective action. Why? Well, a simple answer might be that it was a last-minute shoe-in That wouldn't be surprising. After all, who truly wants the Sussexes at an event these days? And it may well be that the agency, after tireless effort by a near weeping agent, finally succeeded in getting an event for them to go to. But it was last minute, and the call came through to Monty Shitshow telling them, you need to get yourself to this place by X time, and she simply didn't have time to sort her nails out. It's a possibility, but it's not one that I would see as appropriate, because notwithstanding even short notice, it doesn't take that long for somebody, and she has a staff, to organise a nail technician who could even do it while she was travelling to the event. Accordingly, having considered the possibility that she simply didn't have time and dispense with that, why then does she turn up looking as she does with the chipped nail polish? The fact is that although she's a somatic narcissist that is preoccupied with her appearance, she has two factors which impact upon that. Remember, she must have control. Control is at the heart of everything. She is hypersensitive to threats to control. And her narcissism is preoccupied with ensuring that those threats are nullified. As a consequence of her own behaviours, the level of threat that she experiences on a daily basis, and I don't mean people climbing over the walls and throwing potatoes at her, but I mean in sense of the narcissistic threat to control, is higher than it ever has been before. Each time she does something, it's scrutinised. Much of what she does is ridiculed and lampooned. More and more people have seen through her, more and more people dislike her, more and more media outlets comment adversely against her. This has created a tsunami of challenge fuel. So she remains well-fueled, but there's challenge after challenge after challenge. Social media, on blogs, in videos, the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, Sky, news.com.au, the New York Post. Take your pick from them and others. Various outlets that comment, the Times, the Telegraph, that comment adversely, South Park, Family Guy, they all mount up. And in effect, her narcissism is firefighting. Threat to control, deal with it. Another threat to control, deal with it. Another threat to control, deal with it. And when that's happening, it means that she essentially takes her eye off the ball in terms of some of the little details. Therefore, the nails don't get done. The hair isn't adjusted properly. The skin routine goes out of the window. You see, the narcissism caters for those deficiencies by simply blinding her to them. Control is everything. The receipt of fuel is everything. And the narcissism is geared up to address those two factors ahead of everything else. Now, ordinarily, the narcissist is not facing an army of threats to control, which means that for a somatic narcissist, there is in effect time to undertake exercise, go through the care routine, putting on the makeup, getting the nails done, choosing the beautiful clothing, etc. And all of that can be achieved because the narcissism isn't in effect running around trying to put out the fires that are the various threats to control. But with this one's wife, as a consequence of the way that she has behaved, and basically most of the world has, in a way, turned against her, she faces on a daily basis so many threats to her control. Her narcissism is driven to have to address all of those, meaning that it isn't leaving time to direct her to the maintenance of a physical appearance. She is, for the reasons that I explained in the video, is the evil destroying her, having various challenges to her physical appearance. And rather than the narcissism direct her to take steps to address it at this current time, it's basically saying, if you think about it in terms of, say, a narcissist HQ, And there are all these minions up there that cover various aspects of her day-to-day activity. And there's a chief minion who's basically saying, all hands to the pump to nullify the incoming threats to control. And there's a minion to one side saying, yeah, boss, but I need to sort out her dress, and I need to sort out her hair and her skin and her nails. She's going to a do tonight. And the chief minion says, fuck that shit. We haven't got time for it. Just hit the delusion button. That'll take care of that. Get over here and help the boys with all of these threats to control. Right you are, governor, shouts the minion. He hits the delusion button, and therefore this one's wife isn't motivated to do anything about those aspects of her appearance, because her narcissism is simply saying to her, you look great. You might think to yourself, but how can that be when she looks down and sees that her nails aren't properly done? But remember, she sees the world through a distortion field. That's why she thinks she's being picked on when she isn't. That's why she thinks that people are being racist when they're not. That's why she thinks that all the men want to fuck her when they don't. Because her narcissism creates this distortion field. And in so doing, as part of that delusion, it basically tells her, you look gorgeous, when she actually, objectively, doesn't. She doesn't see the shortcomings. She doesn't see that her skin looks terrible because her narcissism causes her to fail to see it. As you're sat listening to me, focus on something in the room, whatever it might be. The edge of your bed, a desk, a television set, a light fitting. You can see it. Now close your eyes. You can't see it, can you? She's the same. The narcissism effectively closes her eyes to those deficiencies, so she simply can't see them. If she were to look down and realise that for a moment that her nails weren't done properly, her narcissism immediately takes her to something else, suggesting it doesn't matter, it still looks good. You're this one's wife. You can carry off anything. Even though your hair hasn't been brushed properly, you still look radiant and amazing. Even though your nails haven't been done to the optimum. That dazzling smile will still win people over, the light in your eyes. And therefore, those delusions operate to take her away from these physical shortcomings. And in essence, the narcissism at the current time is so preoccupied with dealing with all of these threats to control that have come about as a consequence of her own behaviour, that it basically has to maintain the delusion that she looks fantastic when she actually doesn't, because it simply doesn't have the resource to address everything. That's why, in the past, she looked better than she does now, because she wasn't facing as many threats to control, and therefore, whilst there were periodic instances where she would wear something that didn't look good, there were other occasions where she did look pretty decent, and that her hair looked fine, and she had her nails done, and so on and so forth. But as a consequence of the lifestyle challenges that have occurred, and the repeated threats to control that she's experienced, the deterioration in her physical appearance is as a consequence of the fact of certain lifestyle choices, alongside with the fact that her narcissism is saying to her, you still look fantastic, you still look great. That's why you get certain narcissists, when they're particularly older, wear clothing that's entirely inappropriate for them, that they look completely plasticated as a consequence of the cosmetic surgery that they've had, and yet they still think that they look good. You look at that person and think, fuck me, they look awful. You can see it. But do you think they look in the mirror and think, Christ, I look terrible, but I'll still wear it? No, they believe that they look really good because they're deluded by their narcissism. And it's the same for this one's wife. The narcissism deludes her into believing that she still looks gorgeous and beautiful, even when she does not. And the reason she does not is as a consequence of the demands that have been made on her lifestyle choices, and that rather than correct her, as might once have been the case, the narcissism is too busy dealing with all of these threats to control that have manifested, not leaving sufficient resource to address her, making changes to her appearance, and therefore covering it up with the maintenance of the delusion. And that's why she wore the chipped nail polish. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.